Hey people, my name is Chris and I was thinking of doing a video on how I converted my Tippmann 98 custom into a Magfed version. What you need for it is, of course, a Tippmann 98 custom and the conversion kit from Stark Pursuit. I think it's also Tippmann stuff. Other possibilities would involve having a 3D printed one. And before you start saying, yeah, sure, but you know that there's this Takamo conversion kit, you can see it here. I know about this one, but those were the resources I had at home and available, and I like crafting stuff like that, so I was thinking of how could I do it myself. I already converted my custom 98 into a Thompson gun, and so I was thinking on how I would be able to make it Magfed. So the first step would be to disassemble your gun and get all the parts out which might fall out otherwise. Then you still have this front grip, which will be the place where you get the paintballs in. So you have to get rid of this and drill a hole in. Here you can see where to cut it. Yeah, this is the conversion kit with those bolts on the side which have to be cut off, but you can see if you can manage to get it high enough inside as I did, and as you will see in the process, then it's quite easy to attach it and make it work. So, but it has to be quite high up, as you can see. So the first part is getting rid of the front grip, which I'm speeding up here, but I must say was quite some step for me, of course, because I really enjoy my custom 98, otherwise I wouldn't do because I got a longer barrel from the beginning and the accuracy was, in my opinion, not that far behind more expensive markers, so why shouldn't I? And it's still a cheap marker, so if you destroy it in the making, you won't have lost that much as if you would do any expensive markers, non-Magfed markers, which you convert into Magfed markers. So before I cut through the front grip completely, I disassembled the gun again, just to make sure I'm on the right, I have the right measurements. As you can see here I put the conversion kit, the Magfed adapter, down and marked where I want the cut to be made, which turned out to be a little bit far, a little bit too much in front afterwards, but just for getting rid of the front grip, this works fine, and afterwards you can do more measurements. So just stay calm, or think what you're doing, and plan right and concentrate on the work, and not that much can go wrong. I mean, that's my general advice for doing work like that. So yeah, just putting it straight and cutting off, and then you have finally cut your marker into two parts. I don't know, I kept this part even though I have already one of these cut off front grips from a friend. Maybe you can do it for some shotgun conversion mod or whatever. Here you can see it's quite thick and a strong outer shell, so drilling a hole through that is quite easy job. Now you can easily put the adapter where it will stay afterwards. So here I figured out that I cut too far in front, so I redid this afterwards, but make sure that everything is smoothed out. Best done with a steel file. So this is the end result, or the final result, how the marker outside will look like. And now you have the problem with the adapter, which doesn't fit and the bolts are on the wrong side. So yeah, you have to get rid of them as well. So destroying, like, I mean, that brings me to the cost. The custom 98 is depending on if you get it used or if you have a new one, which is like 140 or something back in the days. And I got a used one now, which I'm not sure what I will make out of this one, but this one was for 60 euros, and this Magfed conversion kit is for 54 euros. It comes with 2 magazines which fit the TPX as well. But as you can see, if you have a 3D printer, and you can also get it shipped on Thingiverse, I think you can order things to be 3D printed and then shipped to you. That should be way cheaper, and then you can get already Zeatmags, which I would recommend rather than those standard TPX. Okay, so I removed the bolts, but you also will have to remove or to make it straight, which I did with a machine, but it's better to do it also with the iron saw, just for a smoother cut and more control on the cut. But yeah, as you can see, it fits already much better. So also from front, I mean, you can see that the adapter is way thicker than the marker itself, the smaller parts of the marker, which lead to some inconveniences, but we will see that later. So when you put in the magazine, you will see that the bolt which is pushing up the paintballs is a little bit outside of the adapter, which is quite necessary to keep the paintballs in place in the firing chamber, or in the right position, let's call it like that. So because when the front bolt pushes the paintball outside, it shouldn't under any circumstances hit this push pin which pushes up the paintballs. One consequence might be that it gets stuck. The worst consequence might be that the magazine breaks, and both cases you would want to avoid. Here you can see the whole assembly of how the chamber will look like when the paintball is inside, the barrel is on it, the front pin is in the ready to fire position. Yeah, so let's get to drill it. We will use a standing drill because it has much more accuracy when going down, and better use a smaller drill before and then change to the bigger one. Just make sure you don't slide to one or the other side, and maybe you can get even a smaller drill, because as you can see here that the thickness of the smaller parts of the marker are around 2 centimeters, and the drill has a little bit more than 2 centimeters, so it already cut out some of the edges, as you can see here. Yeah, it doesn't pose a problem for the paintballs to scratch or anything, and you won't see it in the end because of the holding, because of the mount. So yeah, as you can see here, paintball fits easily inside, and also disassembled and put together. You can see the push pin stays far enough down. Here I pushed it even a little bit too high to not get too close to the front bolt to hit it. So now to the mount, to the holding, I decided to use a 2mm aluminium sheet or plate and cut it with a jigsaw, I think it's called. Here I'm cutting out the front part of it, and I'm leaving quite some sheet left on the left and right side, so for further adjustment afterwards. So if you put it in front, you can see, or like if you assemble the marker, you can see that the gap matches quite well. After some filing, it matched even better. And for the holes to drill, here I have a centimeter ruler placed next to it. The one in front should go through the magazine, and the one on the left side, which you can see, will go through where the hopper holding was attached. Okay, about bending it in shape, I put it in a bench wise and attached some sheets to the left and right side of it. And as aluminium is quite soft, it was quite easy to bend, but make sure it is in the right direction. So here you can see this hole for the hopper holder, the earlier hopper holder. So I used a ruler to mark where it has to be bent next. After you have it marked, you bend it just the same way as I did before. Okay, here you can see it, how it matches the holder, and put a screw through the adapter and the sheet. Shows you it fits quite well. And this hole, I mean, it's always a little bit of pushing and pulling and maybe readjusting. And this is the first prototype kind of, but I will already have kind of some friend asked me to make this for him as well, so I will improve the technique and let you know about it. So with the smaller screw, you just have to look what you find about the screws. This one is, I think, used for assembling doors or stuff like that. Just measure the diameter of the screw and get whatever you want. The magazine fits perfectly inside as we planned and as we assembled already. So yeah, the last hole left is the one for holding everything together, and also kind of putting pressure on the adapter so that it will hold it even more tight. I didn't come up with any better way of fixing it, because the adapter in the back has quite a thin plastic, or too thin to put a screw through it. Okay, the next problem was how to mark the spot where to put the hole for the screw, which will hold everything together and hold the adapter up. And I came up with the idea of putting a screw through it and then just pushing it and marking the spot like that, and then the next step, drilling it and putting a screw through it, worked just fine. And as you can see here now, that's already the nearly finished project. Here I already went playing with it once whole day, and it worked great most of the time. I painted it black little bit so that it won't shine that much, but I will do a better paint job than this one. I wanted to show you how it is loaded and how it shoots the paintballs. And as you can see here now with the Zeatmag, it holds them quite firmly and it passes all the shaking tests. As you can see, when shooting it, absolutely no problem. That's how it should be. Like with the last paintball, they usually fit a little bit better and stay in a little bit better and more firm, because the bolt from the magazine pushes the paintball more up than the next paintball does it if there are more paintballs left. But as you can see here, with more paintballs, it also passes all shaking tests. And shooting the paintballs as well, like recocking, shooting again. I mean, you don't have to do that if you have air on it. I didn't record any shooting tests with it, but if the mechanics work without air, they work with air nearly the same. Sure, you have more pressure on it, but as long as the paintball stays up, everything is fine. Here with the other magazines which come with the adapter, here you can see how they skip up if you have it recocked. Also hold very firmly. So the last thing I need to show you, which is of course also quite important, otherwise the paintballs would shoot out as soon as you push in the magazine, is the holding mechanism, or the how to seal off your hole from the hopper. I just used some hot glue to seal it and had to cut it in shape afterwards, because if you release the trigger and then push in some hot glue, it will fit too tightly to not allow the front bolt to move independently. But this way it should be fine. And then you take a cable tie or cable connector to make sure, or to reassemble the ball latch so that the paintball doesn't drop out when you move the gun, like pointing it down. And then you can cut the cable connector as long as you need to. You can do some experimenting with it. And yeah, that's about it. That's the final result. Let me know what you think. Maybe share some ideas on it, and let me know if you were inspired by it.